Thank you all for joining us for our SICSS-Howard Mathematica Funded Alumni Research in Progress Roundtable. During these Real Talk Roundtables, our hosting organizations, Howard, Mathematica, and SICSS, discuss the experiences of people of color within their institutions or offer tips and tricks for success. In the case of our SICSS panel today, the three teams who received SICSS-Howard Mathematica Inaugural Excellence in Computational Social Science Research Awards will be presenting their research projects in progress. They are PhD students, early career faculty, and postdocs who attended SICSS-Howard Mathematica site in 2021 and were successful in getting funding. They are currently where you want to be. I would recommend you learn about their projects, listen to their trajectory, and ask them questions so you can create a project that gets you funding this year from us, from the SICSS umbrella organization, and also throughout your career. Participants at the SICSS-Howard Mathematica site will have a chance to ask questions about their projects and get to know them during the second day of Praxis to Power. And our friends on the continent in Cameroon, Nigeria, and South Africa will get to watch that live Q&A video on the SICSS-Howard Mathematica site once it is posted. For now, I encourage you to settle in, listen, and learn.
Hi, I'm Yondu. I'm a PhD candidate from McGill University, and I started SICSS I did SICSS in my 6th year, so near the end of my program, and it was a great opportunity to learn about analyzing data in spaces that I didn't really have experience analyzing data in. And it had a great impact on my career in that it exposed me to other contexts that I could use my quantitative research skills. And now I'm looking at tech roles outside of academia.
Hi, my name is Rashun Miles. I am a PhD student at the University of Mississippi, and I am in the School of Social Applied Sciences. And my research is around compassion fatigue and among nurses who work with clients with infectious disease. And so yeah, I did SICSS in the summer of 2021. And prior to the summer, I really didn't know much about computational social sciences. And after reading the literature, reading the books that we received, and also the week, I learned a lot about R and Python, areas that I had heard about, but hadn't necessarily delved into. So that's kind of in my frontal lobe now, is really thinking about how to apply like these, like Python and R to my work.
Hi, I'm Regina. I am a 2nd year PhD student at UC Berkeley. My work focuses on the interconnection between culture, emotions, and empathy, basically how culture impacts our emotion beliefs, regulation strategies, and empathic accuracy. I was really excited about SICSS because I wanted the opportunity to kind of explore interdisciplinary research and find ways to integrate computational social science into my current work. And I was able to get that experience and become more confident in my skills in R and just get a new set of skills. So.
And hi there, I'm Troy. I am trying to wrap up my PhD this year. Fingers crossed. I'm in a joint program, which is a little weird. National Institutes of Health in DC, and then also at Karolinska Institute in Stockholm. So my degree will come from Sweden, which is a little weird. But I had a little bit of exposure to computational science going into SICSS, but definitely not as much as I gained through the experience. So I think it was really valuable to learn a lot also on qualitative methods to assess data, which I really haven't had a lot of exposure to. But I also, a big emphasis for me for this SICSS in particular was just coming into community and building a community with people that are interested in issues of equity and bias. Where I'm currently situated, there aren't a lot of people interested in those topics, and so it's nice to be in a space where that was the focus. And I'm hoping to take all that into my postdoc after finishing up my PhD. I've got a couple different offers, so I haven't solidified which one I want to take yet, but hoping to continue to use what I've gained from SICSS to look at health equity.
So you're probably all wondering how we came to work together, because we did not know each other before SICSS. So this project was birthed on Research Speed Dating Day, which you will, I don't know when you'll see this video, but you will learn more about it as you progress. So in a nutshell, on that day, there was a shared Excel sheet, and everybody in the program just put down all the topics that they were interested in or ideas that they had for a project they wanted to pursue. It was madness with a lot of ideas. And within that document, you can indicate which topics that you were interested in being part of. And we all had a general interest in healthcare and expressions as it broadly relates to communication. So that's what's brought all of us together. One tip, I guess, going forward for Research Speed Dating Day is to have thematic ideas and maybe have ideas that are not too specific. But from there, we started working together, and it was very helpful that the project was based on this framework of really Troy's research expertise. So we weren't fully starting from scratch, and we were building off of those ideas. Next slide. So this project that we did within SICSS looked at how facial software can assess pain in Black and white faces. And we saw that there was biases in this facial software, in that it was observing more movements in white faces, and it was less accurate at detecting pain in Black faces. And these were computer generated faces. And so we wanted to further look at this as well as improve on it. So we had used an open source database to identify the faces and used other faces that were not computer generated, so using actors. And then from that point on, or SICSS ended, we continued to be in communication. And it was kind of informal, the fact that we're still kind of working together. Like, we decided to apply for funding, see how it goes. If it went well, great. And if it didn't, maybe that would be the end. But it was rather informal, and yeah, now we're still here working together.
Yeah, so to piggyback on that, we're grouped together for a project during SICSS. We continue to stay in touch over email, and basically saw the opportunity arise for funding through, initially through SICSS main funding mechanisms. So they reached out and said that there was funding available, and we continued to talk over email and Zoom to see how feasible it would be to do a project together. We definitely thought it was worth it to try, see if we get funding, and then progress from there. And some things that we did along the way is we worked together over Google Drive, so it's super helpful, so we could all update the documents and see where we were. And then we also wanted to build on the work that we did during the Institute. So we had run studies looking at the faces and how software looked at it, but we thought, let's move this into maybe more like clinical meaningfulness and see how people, real people describe the pain, and how real people observe these faces or these descriptions of pain. So we planned in advance, made deadlines for ourselves, and submitted that application. That's something I think that worked really well for us, just making those deadlines and having our Zoom calls on those deadlines and we talk about if we met our goals or not. And then the little smiley face emoji indicates that we were successful on our application for funding. And from that, after that, obviously we celebrated for a little bit, but then we decided to get to work. So we did some of the things that we said we were gonna try to do to set us up for success. So we created a shared folder on Box that we could be able to share and look at data together. We created an Amazon MTurk account to deposit our funding awards, which is what we were using to pay our online participants. So that's where most of our funding mechanism is going. We also pre-registered our studies, which is a way of scientists to be able to report what hypotheses they have for their studies and their projects. We created a Pavlovi account to host our experiments online so that our online participants can look at the study. And then we created our experiment with Python, which is, I think, some of the skills that we learned over SICSS Institute.
Yes, as Troy mentioned, getting that funding really pushed us to keep the ball rolling. And so we had a meeting to kind of talk about how to move about with the ethics process. So we looked at our different institutions, the timeframes for IRB approval, as well as requirements. And we felt that UC Berkeley's was the one that was more straightforward and fit the timeframe that we were interested in. And so we, again, created deadlines to make sure we got each of the important steps along the way. We created a template of the IRB form for Berkeley and put on a Google Doc to work together and separate out sections to work through. And we created work that we to collect data online because we wanted a broader sample, wanted one that was diverse, and we wanted to collect data anonymously. And here's some examples of our consent forms that we use for the studies that we created.
And so something I did mention was in our initial funding application, we put in 2 sub-studies so that we could run not just one study, but more, go big. And then when we were doing our IRB application, we decided, you know what, we have another study that we're also interested in potentially running. We don't have funding for it yet, but let's go ahead and put it in our IRB just in case we can get funding, because then we can run that 3rd study too without having to restart ethics from scratch. So that's another thing to consider is if you're thinking about projects, go big, go do multiple studies, do multiple projects, and you can include them all in one ethics application. So for that 3rd study, we did a 2nd round of funding, an application for this specific institute. And so we did the same thing where we had lots of Zoom meetings together, emails, we could do Google Docs. And I think that also made it a lot easier having submitted to the general SICSS application to start was we had those general frameworks in place. We knew how to work with each other, had created a budget together and knew how to do some of those things that are required for the application. So it made things a breeze going in for our institute specific funding, which was really nice, and it made everything smooth. And as the sunglasses indicate, we were really excited and happy to get funding from our specific institute that we were participating in. And with that funding, we've also created an open science framework account, which allows us to host stimuli or host data and share it to people all over the world so that researchers can use the data and help us progress. And then we've created our own facial expression stimuli, which is what we're hoping to share with the research community.
Okay, so what we are doing, so all of that is leading up to what the studies. So our first study, our initial studies, is that we applied for funding, is that we are assessing pain language. So as Yondu pointed out, is that studying pain has primarily been used, like white samples have been used for the studies, and so we're really interested in does this contribute to doctors under assessing and under treating Black patients, and specifically Black patients' pain, and looking at like the qualitative part of that, we also would like to look at if there's differences between how Black and white Americans describe pain, and kind of looking at if doctors undertreat Black patients, if they report less belief in Black patients' pain, and so yeah, so like this is the first study. And here is an example of the survey. So the first one, and then we have here, have you experienced any of the following situations? And so the participant can use a slide scale to answer the question.
For study 2, we wanted to focus on rating of pain experiences. So the goal here is to have a new set of participants read some of the excerpts from the participants from the first study and rate how much pain the participants attributed to the stories, rate the believability of the pain stories. And the goal for that was because we wanted to assess if there are biases in pain assessments and whether Black perceivers would rate higher levels of pain for Black stories of pain. Since we're still collecting data from study 1, we haven't yet launched this study.
And then the last study that we're trying to run is to look at the impact of masks on assessing facial expressions. So we're gonna have participants look at images of Black and white faces expressing pain, both with and without masks on. The participants will rate how much pain they see in each of these faces. Participants will see if participants see less pain on people with masks on, if they see less pain on Black faces, and if this racial bias is worse with or without masks on. So obviously, we've been in a pandemic and a lot of people have been wearing masks, and we feel like in a clinical setting, people will probably continue to still wear masks for a while. And so we wanted to know, are there potentially even worse disparities happening in the clinic because of masks? And so we've created stimuli to assess this. So we're presenting computer-generated faces to our participants, and we used our Photoshop skills to help create some of these images, and we've posted them on that Open Science Framework website that I mentioned earlier, which again, people will be able to access and use these images so that they could run their own studies in the future to look at masks or the differences in how people perceive Black versus white pain expressions.
So, so as Regina stated, that once we complete study 1, we'll begin study 2. Study 2 is really contingent on the results of study 1. And then study 3 will be with the masks that Troy just highlighted. We'll be collecting data on that soon. And so after study 1 completes, well, actually, after all the study completes, we'll process and analyze the results and publish the results. And then we see another smiley face with sunglasses. So that's more funding. That means more funding. No, that means that the results will be accepted. We won't get anything from reviewer 2, and so that's what that smiley face and sunglasses mean. And we're enjoying this work, but we also have to keep in mind that we are PhD students. Some are on their tail end defending looking at postdocs. So so yeah, I mean, we're passionate about this work, and we're also passionate about our other work. So it's a balancing act, right? And we're really in really trying times. The world is so. So yeah, it's really good to have people, a group that supports you. And here's our information. Don't hesitate to reach out to any of us and all of us. So yeah, I mean, if you have a specific question, maybe you could CC, choose one of the names and maybe CC us, and then we could, answer. Yeah, one of us will get back to you. So it's probably best to CC everyone.
Awesome. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you all for watching. For more information on SICSS-Howard Mathematica, visit our website, follow us on social media, and join our email list.